And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for race 2 of the Coach Dave Academy monthly event. This is a once a month event sponsored by Coach Dave Academy, and the driver of the day of race 1 and race 2 walk away with either a full track map bundle or a full setup bundle of their choice, which is absolutely fantastic. This is race 2 of the event, and we have Mike the Killer on pole position. Lining up beside him is THKKR. On the second row we have TSR Science and Ben Gallagher. Ben Gallagher was a very late entry into the streamed featured race. Red Fly lines up in 5th place, followed by ENTDI. Mr. Fancy is there in 7th, followed by FRT Cristiano. We have TSR Lemon and MSX completes the top 10 of this grid. ILRT SV5 is there in 11th. We haven't seen him in a couple of races lately, but it's good to see him back on the grid. Smoke is there in 12th. Tropic Rot, Murcielago, Etienne, Twitch Wake, Mr. Death Zone, AJ to the P and Texas MC completes the order. So we roll right on board with Mike the Killer. That green Mercedes-Benz already being hounded up the inside by THKKR. He's got to go for the outside line, but he keeps it. Does he keep it? THKKR is getting his nose in front. They all make it round cleanly. We do have a spinner. We do have some Porsches facing the wrong way then. Not exactly the start that we'd like to see. Right at the rear of the field, I believe that is Ian, as we do have another Ferrari off then. Smoke is off into the gravel around turn 3 of Laguna Seca. So already we have some carnage on the opening lap from these guys in feature race 2. But Mike the Killer is away and gone, and he's got the whole shot, and he is away from THKKR after that very early challenge on the opening lap. He's coming through the corkscrew now. He's got 1 second to THKKR in that number 14 Porsche machine behind him, followed by Ben Gallagher, who's moved up into 3rd place then. So we have lost the 3rd place man. He's dropped down the order somewhere, but Red Fly is holding that 4th place position from Mr. Fancy, TSR Science, TSR Lemon, MSX, FRT, Cristiano and Mr. Death Zone complete the top 10. So we have all change on the opening lap, but they do drop into formation, it seems, as we've got a battle there at the rear of the field. Murcielago at the head of it in 12th place currently. He's having to defend then from AJ to the P, who started dead last and is already up to 13th place. He had a bit of a problem in race number 1. There was a few spots left in race 2 to fill, so he happily jumped into this one for another 1.5 hour race around Laguna Seca. But he's hounding Murcielago there at the minute. Bentley on Bentley action. And just a bit further behind we've got Twitch Wake. He's leading Etienne Moreno, Tropic Rot, SV5, Texas MC, ENTDI, the one to lose out in the opening turn. I'm not sure if he was collected by anybody or if he just dropped the rear of that Porsche by himself. Hopefully someone in the chat will be able to tell us or update us. And we have Smoke at the rear of the field, as we have a spinner in the Lamborghini. Etienne Moreno then on the corkscrew is around. He's a spinner. He's done the right thing. He waited for the grid to come through, and he's just lost it again. Then the rear tyres on that Lamborghini are going to be smoking hot, and he just can't get that thing straight. We'll let him readjust himself at the rear of the field, give him some privacy there whilst he sorts himself out. Mike the Killer has no troubles whatsoever though. He's 1.5 seconds ahead of THKKR, and THKKR has got his mirrors full with Ben Gallagher on his tail in 3rd place. It's very interesting to see these mixed grid events on the Saturdays with SOP Motorsport, because it does throw up a variety of drivers from all splits. So we do have drivers that are racing in our Pro Series, our Silver Series and our AM Series, currently all on the grid together. One of those drivers is Ben Gallagher. He was or is in the Silver Series, and he qualified P2 for the opening round, but he found himself not even finishing the race, which is very unfortunate. But he's running in a strong third here right now, and he's on the tail of THK cars. He just loses the rear of that Audi. He just manages to keep hold of that third place position, but he's got red flag all over the back of him right now, and there's a good train of cars right behind Ben Gallagher then. Red flag, Mr. Fancy, TSR Science, TSR Lemon, and just a bit further back is FRT Cristiano. But all these guys lapping quite closely, which is fantastic to see. MSX there in 9th, and Mr. Death Zone in that P10 position. That's a lovely red Ferrari there from Mr. Death Zone, but he does have AJ to the P then already up onto the back of him. Fighting for that 10th place spot is AJ to the P. He's looking for redemption as, oh my word, what have we got going on here? Hopefully no one gets collected. Hopefully everyone makes it through that carnage. Mr. Fancy, Ben Gallagher. What has happened here then? THKKR, he made it through also. He did make it through, so we're not sure what's gone on there. Ben Gallagher and Mr. Fancy seeming to, they've had a tangle then, coming through turns 3 and 4. Oh my word. I was not expecting to see that when I went on board with Ben Gallagher. He's dropped right down to the rear of the field then. Commentator's curse. As I was just saying how well he was running in this race, he's found himself getting tangled with Mr. Fancy, fighting over that third place position. And well, it's all changed at the front of the field then. Mike the Killer still leading the way. He's got 2 seconds on THKKR. THKKR's got a nice window then ahead of Red Fly there in 3rd place. He kept his nose clean, and he is there in 3rd. A good beneficiary of all that is TSR Science. He is now up into 4th, and FRT Cristiano also. He's gone from 9th place up to 5th, and MSX is a big beneficiary also. He's gone from 8th up to 6th, so it's all changed within 1 lap. Here at Laguna Seca, track temperatures at a whopping 38 degrees, so these tyres are going to be scorching hot in the heat of this American circuit. Out in the desert, TSR Lemon is there in 7th. AJ to the P is now up into P8, so he's managed to get past Mr. Death Zone, and he's hounding TSR Lemon in that Lexus machine. Murcielago is there in 10th. Hopefully we don't have another episode of what we just witnessed, but Mr. Death Zone is leading the way from Twitch Wake, who's all over the back then. We have a massive fight on our hands here, ladies and gentlemen, for that 9th and 10th place position. Mr. Death Zone is leading this from Twitch Wake, Murcielago, Tropic Rot and ENTDI. They're the 5 cars that are running nose to tail right now for that 10th place position. Ian's having a good drive back up through the field then after having a good qualifying. He did lose it on lap 1. And he's showing a turn of speed then to catch up to these runners and riders already, but we will ride back on board with TSR Science because FRT Cristiano is now all over the back of him. Half a second separating these two. MSX a bit further behind watching this battle develop, and then we have TSR Lemon and AJ to the P. Nothing separating these guys either. So thank you for tuning in and watching race 2 with us here at SOP Motorsport. Certainly been an exciting first 2 laps here of this 1.5 hour race around Laguna Seca, sponsored by Coach Dave Academy. As I said earlier, the driver of the day of both race 1 and race 2 do pick up either a track map bundle or a full setup bundle of their choice, which is a fantastic prize to win, as AJ to the P gets all wobbly then. trying to chase down TSR Lemon. He almost lost the rear of that Bentley. He does gather himself together and he will motor on, but he has just lost about half a second with that little slide. Slideways was a word that I invented a few streams ago. AJ to the B got it all slideways. So he's just got to close that gap to TSR Lemon once again, and he will be looking to make moves. We're almost 10 minutes into this race. Mike Tequila hasn't put a foot wrong in that Mercedes machine. He's got 3 seconds to THKKR. He's got 2 Porsches behind him, THKKR and Redfly 143. 2.5 seconds adrift to THKKR is Redfly. But those are your top 3 holding the podium positions currently in race 2 of the Coach Dave Academy sponsored event around Laguna Seca. TSR Science has got FRT Cristiano all over the back of him. Then they go into the corkscrew. Hopefully there's no contact, it's nice and clean through there. But FRT is looking to make moves. He is in the rearview mirror of TSR Science. Hopefully he doesn't succumb to the pressure. But we're right on board with this battle, using all the available track. Is FRT looking for a way past. He's shown his hand. Who gets the better exit out of these 2 guys? Fighting over 4th and 5th currently. Nothing to separate these 2. TSR Science, he's not holding that defensive line. He's actually he's just racing his own race then. He's not compromising any of his speed whatsoever, and he's doing a fantastic job there in 4th place right now. And they're not too far away from Redfly, I must say. But MSX then, he's got TSR Lemon and AJ to the P now all over the back of him. TSR Lemon and AJ to the P, slowly closing that gap to MSX. As what has happened to TSR Lemon? TSR Lemon has dropped it then. So this track is very, very tricky for these drivers, as TSR Lemon is the next one to make a mistake, and that just allowed AJ to the P to slip right through. And now AJ to the P is chasing down MSX in 6th place. He is the next target on his radar. We will ride back on board with FRT Cristiano. See if he's made any more moves on TSR Science. Not currently then. These positions have not changed, as FRT Cristiano is all over the gravel and dust and dirt there. He's trying to use every single bit of track he can to find a way past TSR Science, but it's not happening currently. We will look to the rear of the field, and it is Etienne Moreno. He had that spin through the corkscrew. He's gathered himself back up then, and he's on his way. Twitch Wake, he is down in 18th place. It's not a place we usually see him racing. He's got some damage upon that Porsche machine, so I'm not sure where he was involved in an accident, as Mr. Fancy is looking for a way. He fancies a move on Mr. Death Zone. This has been all changed then. Mr. Death Zone, Mr. Fancy and Twitch Wake were running in the top 10. And they're right at the rear of the field then, as Ben Gallagher was also a big loser in that battle over 3rd place. Ben Gallagher was having a fantastic race, running in 3rd place. He's currently in 12th. He's obviously got some damage on that Audi machine somewhere. Him and Mr. Fancy had to come together in the opening laps, fighting over that 3rd place. As the blue flags are already being waved then, who's the back marker amongst all this? It must be Texas MC already being lapped by the front runners, is it? It might not be Texas MC, it was ILRT SV5 I believe was getting the blue flags then. I'm not too sure. We'll carry on. Murcielago there, he is in 9th, and he's got his mirrors full of E and T, VI and SV5. Blue flags are being waved again. I'm not sure who's being waved at, because everybody's on the same lap currently. But Murcielago is holding that defensive inside line, and that's allowing SV5 to look for a move up the inside of Ian also. Can't quite get the move done, so these two will carry on fighting over that final 10th place position. Murcielago just holding on to 9th. with the two Bentleys breathing, with the two Porsches breathing down his neck rather. Nothing to separate this trio of cars, fighting over 9th place. TSR Lemon still motors on in 8th, as we do have another Lexus. Who is that Lexus then? TSR Lemon, FRT Cristiano. So FRT Cristiano has actually dropped it as well then. What is going on today, ladies and gentlemen? These drivers, whilst they're trying to pressure and make moves, they seem to be making mistakes. Not sure if it's because they're running in that dirty air, but they just cannot seem to execute these moves, and they just seem to make these small mistakes which drop them a couple of places, a few seconds adrift of where they were. And the next one to fall victim to that is FRT Cristiano. He was fighting with TSR Science for such a long time, and now that has given TSR Science a big 5-second gap. That is breathing space. He does not have to worry about defending that position from anybody right now. He's got 5 seconds to MSX, and MSX has got his rearview mirrors full of AJ to the P then. AJ is looking to make moves from the rear of the field. He did start in last place. He did not set a qualifying time, and he's looking to make a move up the inside of GTI. Is he going to do it through here? He does indeed get the move done. Wow, fantastic move. I think MSX was being the gentleman driver there and just giving that space. He knew AJ was there. He thought better of it, trying to fight for position, as he's actually got a better exit then coming up to the corkscrew. He's looking to make another pass, as he does. Tuck in behind the Bentley machine then, so AJ to the P is now up to 5th place. 10 laps completed. He's moved up, how many places has he moved up there? He's moved up 14 places within the space of 10 laps then, which is fantastic stuff. TSR Science is having a good old battle with Redfly, so TSR Science has done all the work he's needed to do. He's got rid of FRT Cristiano from his rear view mirrors, and he's on the back of Redfly fighting for a podium position, so it's a fantastic drive currently. And that is just giving a bit of breathing space to THKKR then, because THKKR did have Redfly quite close to him, so Redfly is now having to deal with TSR Science, and AJ to the P is 5.7 seconds adrift, so we will watch that gap and see how quickly, if it does at all start to diminish. Just over 15 minutes gone currently in race number 2 at Laguna Seca of this sponsored Coach Dave Academy event. Mike Tequila is your leader. He's on lap number 12. He's pulling a few tenths of a second out every single lap. THKKR is now 4 seconds adrift, so he's having a fantastic run, is Mike in his Mercedes. The last event we actually held here with SOP Motorsport, Mike was very prominent also. He was leading that one before, I think he made his own driver error where he just picked up so much damage he had to pit from the lead. So he does know his way around Laguna Seca, and he's currently showing the way in race number 2 then. Your pole sitter dealt with the pressure early on, dealt with the pressure from THKKR, and he's managed just to pull away then. So he motors on to lap number 13. THKKR is there in second, 3.4 seconds back is Redfly, who is having to deal with pressure from TSR Science, but he's dealing with it very well currently. And Mike is actually in the Silver Series. He was the pole sitter in round number 1, but again a driver error unfortunately at Zandvoort caught him out, and he ended up at the rear of the field. He had a good recovery drive up to, I believe, 8th place in the Silver Series, but he's certainly got the speed to run with anybody, quite frankly. He's leading this one. He's leading one of the pro drivers by 4.6 seconds around Laguna Seca, and Redfly sitting in 3rd. He is also one of the silver drivers. He finished the championship in 2nd place last series, and he had a really good showing round number 1 at Zandvoort on Monday, and he's in 3rd currently now, so he's having a really good showing today. TSR Science is there in 4th, and he's managed He's actually managed to drop away from Red Fly then, so I'm not sure what's happened there, because AJ to the P is now only 2 seconds adrift. So TSR Science is having problems himself in that Bentley machine. Almost 20 minutes run in this race number 2 then, and this field is now starting to sort itself out. Well, you can see a pattern develop, we can see how these drivers are currently doing. The order is currently Mike Tequila is 5.2 seconds ahead of THKKR. Red Fly, as we just said, is there in third. He's just managed to drop TSR Science, and AJ to the P is on a massive charge then. Down to about a second is the gap to TSR Science. MSX is now falling back. He's holding 6th place from TSR Lemon and FRT Cristiano. Ian's moved up to 9th, and a good recovery drive from Ian currently. The Porsches do run rather well around Laguna Seca, but he is holding that 9th place after the lap 1 spin. Murcielago is there in 10th. From Ben Gallagher is a spinner then. Ben Gallagher is not having a good day at Laguna Seca. He's got damage on the front of that machine. He does just back off the racing line then as he allows everyone through. That's very sportsmanlike. We like to see that type of sportsmanship. As Mr. Death Zone just goes through there, he'll be in 15th place now in that Ferrari machine. So Mr. Death Zone, he's one of these hit and miss drivers, Mr. Death Zone. He's either right at the front of the field. I mean, he managed to win one of the Pro Series Championship rounds last season, but he finds himself down in 15th currently in this race. So he's either on it like Sonic, or he just hasn't got the pace today. Ben Gallagher's not having a good time of it. He's coming into the pits then. Texas MC was the latest of late entries in this one. He messaged me just seeing if there was any space available to jump onto the grid, and there was a spot, but he did miss all of free practice and all of qualifying, so he was at the rear of the field with AJ to the P. Smoke is another one who had lap 1 damage. He's there in 17th, and Etienne Moreno brings up the rear of the field. So lap number 15 for Mike Tequila then. 15 laps complete rather, no problems for him. His gap is ever extending to THKKR. Over 6 seconds now is that gap to THKKR in 2nd place, and Red Fly is only 1.7 seconds adrift, so he's now really closing that gap to THKKR all of a sudden, because he doesn't have TSR Science to deal with. So Red Fly showing some good turn of speed here. TSR Science is holding that 4th place from AJ to the P, as he does get a bit of a wobble on the exit of turn number 3. TSR Science has got his rear view mirrors full of AJ to the P. He's now out onto the gravel. He's all out of sorts, is TSR Science. He's got a lot of pressure from AJ to the P up to the corkscrew. They're going to go now as he's got another wobbly on TSR Science on the exit. He's not happy with how that car is handling right now. As we will ride on board with AJ to the P, we'll see if we can make a move. They come through the corkscrew nice and cleanly for those 2 Bentley machines. TSR Science leads AJ to the P. 15 laps complete. They're on lap number 16. Is lap number 16 going to be the move? The time for AJ to the P to make a move rather. He's just letting him know he's there. And he's right on the tail of that Bentley machine then, bumper to bumper. These guys are circulating Laguna Seca for that 4th and 5th spot. He does hold that very defensive line. He slows it right down then. He's not letting AJ to the P have a sniff of that 4th place position. This is where TSR Science got it wrong last lap. That allowed AJ to the P to close right up, but no such problems this time around on lap number 17. Fantastic battle between these 2 guys then. AJ to the P is a very patient driver. He's sitting nicely behind TSR Science. Hopefully there's no contact between these 2. He's having a little sniff. He's letting him know he's there, putting him under pressure. Hopefully TSR Science doesn't make a mistake. There's not a passing opportunity through the corkscrew usually, as AJ to the P does have to settle in behind for another lap then. As he's looking for a move up the inside, he gets the move done. Wow, what a fantastic late lunge. A battle down the straight then. Machine versus machine, man versus man. Identical machinery. Who's going to be the later breaker? AJ to the P is holding that inside line. Right round the outside. TSR Science knows the tail these guys are running. He does have to concede that 4th place spot. Fantastic racing shown by these two. AJ to the P gets the move done on TSR Science, as AJ to the P then looks to red fly 143 in that 3rd place position. He's got 4.8 seconds to close on to red fly. He's still got 65 minutes left to do it, so anything's a possibility right now. Mike Tequila though, he's not had to deal with any pressure right now. He's on lap number 18, he's got 5.5 seconds to THKKR. THKKR also hasn't put a foot wrong in that number 14 Porsche machine today. He's having a good run. And his teammate is there down in 9th place, Ian TBI. He's closed right up to the back of MSX, and this is going to be a juicy battle for 8th place. MSX and Ian TBI. Who's going to come out the victor in this battle? He may win the battle, but there's still a war to do, as Ian TDI rides the bumps, rides those curves. That's not the line you want to be taken through there. As we're right on board with ILRT SV5 then, as I said earlier, he hasn't featured in many races recently. ACC have been having some major connection issues on console, and we believe it all started with a SV5 because every time he would complete a qualifying session he was always getting disconnected from races. I think it happened in maybe 4 or 5 races in a row, and he just had to pack up shop and just call it a day for the time being. But then we did hear from the devs of ACC, and they got in contact with Sony, and there was actually a problem with the back service of Sony, so they managed to sort those, and he's back with us racing. They managed to sort out the connection issues. We haven't had anybody disconnect from this race, which is nice to see. It's a big turn of events compared to the Barcelona event just a week ago, where 14 drivers got disconnected from the race due to issues, external issues out of our control. But we've got 19 racers still riding with us, 18 if you don't include Ben Gallagher, who's called it a day after those early lap problems. But MSX currently holding 8th then. He's holding off Ian TDI, who's got a nice Captain Murcielago, as Murcielago's got SV5 in his rear view mirrors. Nothing to separate these guys then after 30 minutes of racing. As Tropic Rot, we can say, is the first driver to make his mandatory pit stop. Then there's one mandatory pit stop to do in this race, and it's not mandatory tyres. All they got to do is refuel and they can be on their way. So a pit stop should be around 45 to 50 seconds. Laguna Seca is one of the worst and longest pit stops on the calendar you can have. Is such a terrible pit stop, and the exit of that pit stop can really catch drivers out. You can just be going just that little bit too fast and you'll see those brand new tyres into the gravel, which is something you don't want to do. Yeah, the pit entry and pit exit of Laguna Seca is not a fan favourite, that's for sure. is a very, very, very short entry which can catch those drivers out. I've seen many stop and go penalties for speeding in the pit lane through there. AJ is having a fantastic race. He didn't even bother doing qualifying. He was a late entry from race number 1. He wanted to race in race number 2 also, and he decided not to do qualifying. He's already up into 4th place after 29 minutes gone. We have had a few little issues with drivers. Ben Gallagher had it coming together with Mr. Fancy. They were fighting over 3rd place and they find themselves down in 13th, and Ben Gallagher's already retired from the race. There's been a few other battles for FRT Cristiano and TSR Science, and Cristiano ended up dropping it also. So AJ to the P has just been very, very consistent in his lapping, and he finds himself in 4th place, less than 2 seconds adrift of Redfly 143 right now. But no problems on board Mike Tequila. He is on lap number 22, ladies and gentlemen, and he's got a 5-second cushion to THKKR. He was pulling out a few tenths or so every single lap, but that gap seems to have stabilised at 5 seconds. THKKR hasn't put a foot wrong either. He's holding a solid 2nd place. Redfly is there in 3rd, but he will see AJ to the P closing quite rapidly on the hour mark of this race. Track temperature just beginning to drop ever so slightly then. Down to 36 degrees. They're still scorching temperatures. The tyres are still going to be feeling it. But it's all about the pit stop window here. How much fuel have they got on board? Do they bother pitting for fresh rubber or not? These tyres can last a whole 90 minutes quite easily. But how warm will they be at the end of the race? AJ to the P then. What's the gap as the timing deltas update? Less than a second then. Redfly, watch out. AJ to the P is coming for you. You need to get that pedal to the metal and get that push machine moving. Otherwise AJ to the P is going to be looking to make a move on you. They can both see THKKI is only 5 seconds up the circuit. 5.6 seconds adrift of Mike Tequila is THKKR, as we'll stay on board with AJ to the P then. He's created the most action in this race so far, just because of this storming drive up through the field. And he is right on the tail of Redfly on lap number 23. Through the corkscrew they go, as Redfly is well wide then. He's got his corner entry and exit all wrong, and AJ to the P, easy as you like, right round the outside of Redfly then. So Redfly just outbraked himself, unfortunately, under pressure from AJ to the P, and he says thank you very much, like taking candy from a baby. AJ to the P is up into 3rd place and he is on a mission. THKKR is next on the hit list. He's got 5 seconds to THKKR. Ben Gallagher is a retiree. I do see you in the chat there, sir. Your rear end was all over the place in the final sector. Yeah, the Audi is quite tricky to drive around Laguna Seca, I think. It's not the most stable car because of all the curbs. It's not a very curb-friendly car, I find. Porsches seem to dominate around Laguna Seca normally. But we have the Mercedes of Mike Tequila. He's led every lap. He took pole position. 24 laps complete. He's got 6 seconds to THKKR in the number 14 Porsche machine. He hasn't put a foot wrong. AJ to the P coming through the corkscrew, also followed by Red Fly, followed by TSR Science, who have got a big gap to TSR Lemon. The two Lexus drivers of TSR Lemon and FRT Cristiano, they're lapping nose to tail, currently in 6th and 7th place. So Etienne Moreno at the rear of the field with Tropic Rot in good company. The Lamborghini guys aren't having a good day today. They're in the bottom half, or bottom quarter of this table. Then 13th, 17th and 18th are your drivers, as Mr. Fancy does just come past Etienne Moreno, then he does let him through, as SV5 is the first one to pit then inside the top 10. The drivers inside the top 10. SV5 is the first one to pit. 55 minutes remaining. Quite a sensible option. Obviously it isn't a tyre stop, it's only fuel, so it's quite interesting to see these strategies play out. Obviously SV5 wasn't fueled very heavy for that first stint, so he will be going to the end of the race, as Cristiano is looking for a way past TSR Lemon, and nothing to separate these guys. Don't take each other out. Two Lexus drivers there in 6th and 7th. As they still motor on. So Mike the Killer is leading the way then. THKKR is 4.7 seconds adrift. And then you've got AJ to the P there in 30s, flashing his lights at Texas MC. So Texas MC is a back marker in this battle. I'm wondering if he's just lost valuable time to THKKR and trying to close him down. Red Fly's already dropped 2 seconds. 2 seconds he's dropped back to AJ to the P. And there we see SV5 re-emerge on the track, and you can see the top 4 drivers have been able to completely lap SV5, who's running in the top 10. Just goes to show how short of a lap it is around Laguna Seca. The fastest of the fast will be lapping in the 120s, the high 120s. Majority of the fast drivers would be doing 122s, 123s. As SV5 is off the track then, he's off the track. I think he's trying to avoid the back markers. Oh, don't put it in the wall. SV5 regathers his, regather that car, sir. You don't want to be putting that into the wall. You've still got 53 minutes remaining. I think he was just trying to avoid Texas MC there, currently running in 15th place. As SV5 just got a wheel on the dirt, and that was it. He just shot him off the circuit. But Mike the Killer then, what's going on here? Because THKKR is less than 3 seconds away from Mike the Killer, so Mike the Killer has lost a big chunk of time in a space of 1 lap. And now THKKR will see the rear of that Mercedes. 3 seconds is only the gap between Mike the Killer and THKKR, as is the gap between THKKR and AJ to the P, so the fight for the win is certainly on amongst these drivers. A further 3 seconds adrift is Red Fly, and then a further 3 seconds adrift is TSR Science. So these top 5 are all separated by 3 seconds apiece. And then FRT Cristiano is some 15 seconds adrift. So something has happened there, because TSR Lemon is in the pits. There we go, that's why TSR Lemon does indeed pit, so that frees FRT Cristiano. Up into 6th place he goes. Ian TDI still having a good recovery drive up into 7th. He is now up into 7th. MSX is there in 8th and Wake is there in 9th. We haven't seen much of Wake in today's race in that pineapple Porsche machine, as he likes to refer to it. He's still riding with that damage. Obviously he's we're not sure how he picked up that damage. We'll find out after the race. But he's there running in 9th place. We should see drivers then starting to come into the pits around the halfway mark. We've already had 5 drivers complete their mandatory pit stop. Murcielago is currently the one leading the way out of those 5 drivers. TSR Lemon, SV5, Tropic Rotten, Etienne Moreno, who is back into the pits. But Mike Tequila once again leading the way, lap number 28. He is on, hasn't put a foot wrong. Well, I say he hasn't put a foot wrong. THKKR has closed up to the back of him somehow, but Mike Tequila has led every single lap. Qualified on pole as the Ferrari man does just move out the way. Smoke 76.20 moves out the way as Mike Tequila comes round for another lap, and THKKR is looking visibly closer then. We'll wait for the timing screens to update, but THKKR is visibly closer on the back of Mike Tequila. 2.6 seconds adrift, and AJ to the P is also 2.4. So this is going to get spicy, ladies and gentlemen. 50 minutes remaining. Less than 2 seconds apiece for the top 3 drivers. Very interesting indeed. Mike Tequila leading the way in that green machine, mean machine, that Mercedes-Benz leading the way. THKKR is there in that blue and orange Porsche, and he's got AJ to the P in that lime, indigo lime racing Bentley machine, closing down quite rapidly. Is AJ to the P. It's quite remarkable that he started at the rear of the field and he's now challenging for the win, as was Baggy in race number 1. Baggy decided not to do any qualifying whatsoever, and he found himself at the front of the field come race end. He took the win, and I believe he took the driver of the day, which means he will pick up a Coach Dave Academy bundle. But on to lap number 30 goes Mike Tequila, as we do have a Ferrari exiting the pit lane. It is Smoke who is coming out of the pit lane, so hopefully Smoke does not impede these front 3 drivers. Mike has found his way through, as THKKR, I believe, just got held up ever so slightly. So that Ferrari machine is definitely out of position then. Smoke, he's down in 17th place. Hopefully he doesn't hold AJ to the P up for any considerable length of time, as AJ to the P is looking to close down on THKKR. The gap is only 1.3 seconds, but there is a Ferrari machine sandwiched between you both right now, as he does move out of the way. Good sportsmanship shown from Smoke there. He allows AJ to the P through, and once again the battle will resume. Red Fly then holding a comfortable 4th place. He is now some 8 seconds adrift of AJ to the P, and that battle for a podium position is slowly fading away for Red Fly. TSR Science is 2 seconds further back. And we have an out of position Murcielago actually there in 10th place, about to be lapped by TSR Science. Or rather, Murcielago is unlapping himself, because Murcielago has completed his mandatory pit stop. But we will ride on board with AJ to the P then. As I said earlier, he is the one making moves in this race, and he is now right on the back of THKKR. Does THKKR feel that pressure? Can he hold AJ to the P off? Mike Tequila has got 3.5 second gap to THKKR. THKKR is going to have to defend from AJ to the P anytime soon. He comes through the corkscrew on lap number 31. Easy as you like for these top 3 then. They're 8 seconds clear of Red Fly in 4th place. We've got 2 seconds to TSR Science. but we will stay on board with AJ to the P, because this is the battle for the podium positions as THKKR and Mike Tequila do decide the box then. This is very, very interesting tactics indeed. THKKR blinked with Mike Tequila then. They are doing identical pit stop strategies. As I said, at the halfway mark, 46 minutes gone then of this 1.5 hour race, as AJ to the P is now your race leader. Lap number 32 for this man. He is now leading the way. Thank you for updating us, Megan, in the chat there for smoke. I'll take the brownie points for sportsmanship. I'm not getting any other points here, that's for sure. Well, we know that he did have problems early on in the race, so we didn't quite see what happened, but I did see damage on the side of that Ferrari. So if you can find out for me what happened in those early laps, that would be fantastic. As we do have Cristiano and Wake also into the pits then. So your top 5 are still left to pit. AJ to the P is leading the way from Red Fly. Can AJ to the P make the overcut work around here at Laguna Seca as we do reach the halfway point then? 45 minutes gone, 45 minutes remaining. As Red Fly and TSR Science are lapping pretty closely now. The gap is down to 1.5 seconds as Ian moves up to 4th place, as MSX is there in 5th. A brilliant showing from these guys. It really does pay dividends to go long in these races, as MSX does dart into the pits then. So the top 4 along with Texas MC are the only drivers left to make their mandatory pit stops. We will see how long AJ to the P is going into this race. If he's smart enough, he would have seen his map and delta, and he will know he's got a big gap to the guys ahead of him.